What happens when a homeless elderly man who has lost everything stands at a crossroads in his life thanks to a chance encounter with Elon Musk? On that freezing street, a small act of kindness not only fixed a broken car, but also reversed fate, transforming a man from despair into a symbol of hope. This is not just the story of a life reborn, but a powerful testament to how compassion can change the world. Let's dive into this miraculous story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below to let us know where you're watching from. The icy wind sliced through the streets of San Francisco on a dreary December morning. The gray sky cast a muted shroud over the city, as if the weather itself wanted to ignore the existence of the wandering souls on its streets. At a corner near Tesla's headquarters, Tom Wilson, a 73-year-old man, sat hunched beside an old shopping cart, his trembling hands clutching his frail body for warmth. The tattered coat he wore was no match for the biting cold. In front of him was a piece of cardboard with scrawled words, "Veteran, please help." The passers-by, mostly sharply dressed tech employees, barely spared him a glance. They rushed past, their eyes glued to their phones, as if Tom was invisible. Tom was used to it. 5 years of homelessness had taught him how to live in the shadow of others' indifference. He once had everything: a cozy little house, a steady job as a mechanic, and, most importantly, Martha, the woman he loved more than life itself. But when Martha was diagnosed with terminal cancer, Tom sold everything to pay for her treatment. The money ran out, and when she passed away, Tom was left with nothing but painful memories and a cart of meager belongings. That morning began like any other. Tom sat curled up in his usual corner, occasionally taking deep breaths to fight the cold gnawing at his bones. Suddenly, an unusual sound broke through the monotony, the screech of tires on the pavement, followed by a heavy, sputtering noise of a malfunctioning engine. Tom looked up. A sleek black car, straight out of a sci-fi movie, had stopped in the middle of the road. Smoke billowed from under the hood. His curiosity piqued. He watched intently, wondering who owned such a flashy vehicle. The car door swung open, and a tall man stepped out. He wore a suit that wasn't perfectly put together. A slightly askew tie and messy hair hinted at a stressful morning. The man held a phone in his hand, swiping at the screen repeatedly. "No signal. Damn it," the man muttered, frustration tinging his voice. He paced around the car, inspecting the hood before glancing at his phone again, seemingly searching for a miracle solution. Tom didn't need a closer look to recognize the man. That face had graced countless news articles and magazine covers. It was Elon Musk, the man who had reshaped the world with his bold ideas. For a moment, Tom silently observed, his calloused hands clenching slightly. A part of him wanted to turn away and let the powerful man figure it out on his own. But then Martha's words echoed in his mind. She always reminded him, "Helping others is how we find our worth, even when no one notices." Taking a deep breath, Tom pulled his tattered coat tighter and stood up. His legs ached from the cold, but he approached anyway, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Excuse me, sir, looks like you've got a car problem?" Elon turned, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He scanned Tom from head to toe, clearly assessing him. Tom was familiar with that look, the guarded skepticism of someone instinctively wary of a disheveled stranger. But Elon didn't walk away like so many others. Instead, he paused, setting his phone aside. "Yes," Elon replied, his tone hesitant. "The car's acting up and I'm late for an important meeting, but the signal here is terrible. Do you have any ideas?" Tom nodded slowly. I used to be a mechanic in the Army. If you don't mind, I could take a look." Elon narrowed his eyes briefly, then nodded. "If you can fix it, I'd be grateful." Tom stepped closer to the car, his weathered hands gently lifting the hood. The warmth of the engine mingled with the smell of oil and smoke, transporting him back to his younger days. Using a pair of pliers and the small bottle of water he had in his cart, he inspected the cooling system and found a tiny crack. "Looks like there's a leak in the cooling system," Tom explained, his hands shaking slightly but still steady enough for the task. "I can patch it up temporarily. It won't last long, but it should get you where you need to go." Elon said nothing, watching intently as Tom worked. About 20 minutes later, Tom straightened up, exhaling deeply. "Try starting it now." Elon climbed into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine purred smoothly, free of the sputtering and smoke. Stepping out of the car, Elon looked at Tom with astonishment. "You really saved my skin," Elon said, glancing at his watch. "I don't know how to thank you. How much do you want?" Tom shook his head, his eyes filled with earnest sincerity. "No need, sir. I just wanted to help. My wife, Martha, always believed kindness was the most important thing in life." Elon was silent for a long moment, as if weighing something in his mind. Finally, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Tomorrow, come to this address at 9 a.m., he said. "Ask for Sarah in HR. I think you deserve a chance to do something greater." Tom stared at the card in his hand, a mix of disbelief and confusion washing over him. "I'm not sure." "You don't have to be sure," Elon interrupted with a small smile. "Just show up. I believe you're capable of more than you think." Tom nodded, feeling a faint glimmer of hope ignite within him. This encounter didn't just change a cold morning, it had opened the door to a life he never dared to dream of. The next morning, Tom Wilson woke up unusually early. The cold wind still whipped against his body, but something felt different today. It was a feeling he couldn't remember the last time he had: anticipation. The business card from Elon Musk lay quietly in the pocket of his worn-out coat, a silent reminder that yesterday wasn't a dream. Tom had hardly slept all night. Hundreds of questions swirled in his mind. Why would he want to help me? Could this be a joke? Do I even deserve this? But beneath his anxiety, a familiar voice echoed in his thoughts. The voice of Martha, the wife he had loved more than himself. "Don't let fear hold you back, Tom. I've said it before. Sometimes we have to trust in the most unexpected things." Tom took a deep breath and gathered the few belongings he kept in his shopping cart. Before leaving, he stopped by a nearby public restroom. Using his last coins, he turned on the faucet and carefully washed his face, combing through his graying hair. From the cart, he pulled out an old shirt and a pair of faded but clean pants, the best he had. While they wouldn't make him look like someone seeking a job, they at least gave him the sense that he was making an effort. When Tom arrived in front of Tesla's headquarters, the clock read 8:50 a.m. The building loomed tall, a symbol of the modern age, with gleaming glass panels reflecting the pale winter morning sun. Streams of people bustled past, each absorbed in their own important tasks. Tom stood there for a moment, hesitating. He felt like a foreigner in this world, a world where he didn't belong. But then, gripping the business card tightly in his hand, he reminded himself why he had come. Stepping through the glass doors, Tom was immediately struck by the contrast between the chilly outdoors and the warmth of the lobby. Soft white light filled the space, and the polished floor mirrored the hurried footsteps of Tesla employees. At the reception desk, a young woman greeted him with a professional smile as he approached. "Hello, I'm Tom Wilson. Mr. Elon Musk asked me to come here to meet Sarah," he said, trying to steady his voice. The woman regarded Tom for a brief moment, her eyes showing a flicker of surprise before she quickly returned to her practiced smile. "Yes, we've been informed. Please have a seat, Mr. Wilson." Tom sat in a nearby chair, trying to shake off the awkwardness he felt. Within 5 minutes, a confident-looking middle-aged woman with a warm smile appeared. She wore a sleek blazer, her hair neatly tied back, and her eyes lit up as she saw him. "Mr. Wilson, I'm Sarah, head of Human Resources. It's a pleasure to meet you. Please, follow me." Sarah led Tom down a long hallway where young employees moved about, chatting enthusiastically about projects Tom couldn't begin to understand. He felt like an outsider, but Sarah's friendly demeanor gave him a small sense of reassurance. When they entered a small meeting room, Sarah invited Tom to sit in a plush chair at a polished wooden table. She began speaking in a calm but genuine tone. "Elon Musk told me about you. He was very impressed with your mechanical skills and the kindness you showed yesterday. He believes you deserve an opportunity, and we're here to make that happen." Tom sat silently, unsure of how to respond. "I don't know what I could do here. It's been so long since I've worked in mechanics." Sarah smiled, her eyes fixed on Tom. "Don't worry about that. Tesla isn't just looking for people who can handle cutting-edge technology. We value experience and practical knowledge, things you've built over a lifetime." She explained that Tesla was working on a new project involving the restoration and maintenance of classic car models, and they needed a seasoned technical advisor to guide their young engineers. The role wouldn't require heavy labor, but would focus on sharing his expertise and insights. "Additionally," she added softly, "Tesla will provide temporary housing near the company for you. We'll also ensure you have health insurance from your first day of work. This will give you time to get back on your feet." Tom's heart pounded. A job, a home, a chance to start over. Yet his old doubts crept back in. "I'm 73 years old," he said quietly. "What will people think about Mr. Musk hiring someone like me?" Sarah leaned forward, her gaze steady. "Elon Musk believes that wisdom and experience never age, and I believe the same. You're not just a candidate, Mr. Wilson. You're an inspiration." Tom sat in silence, her words sinking in. They reminded him of Martha. She had always told him that everything happened for a reason. Could this be the opportunity she had wanted him to find? Finally, he lifted his head, his eyes resolute. "All right," he said slowly. "I'll give it a try." Sarah's face lit up with a radiant smile, as if she had been waiting for this answer all along. "We're thrilled to have you, Mr. Wilson. I believe this is just the beginning of a meaningful new chapter in your life." As Tom left Tesla's headquarters later that afternoon, he paused on the sidewalk, feeling the midday sun break through the clouds. He looked up at the sky and whispered softly, "Thank you, Martha. Maybe you were right. Kindness really can lead to miracles." For the first time in years, a small spark of hope began to flicker within him, illuminating the long shadows of his past. Tom Wilson stepped into the Tesla building the following morning, stepping in for the first time as an employee. The new uniform Tesla had issued him, a light gray jacket with the company logo embroidered on the left chest, fit snugly and made him feel distinct. How long had it been since he'd worn something decent? The sensation was both unfamiliar and somewhat pride-inducing, Yet there was a weight in his chest he couldn't shake off. The hallway leading to the engineering workshop was long and wide, gleaming under the bright white lights. Glass walls reflected images of young engineers clutching laptops or tablets, moving swiftly back and forth. Tom could feel the cutting-edge modernity of this place, a world completely removed from the one he had known for decades. He walked slowly, his heart heavy with anxiety. He noticed the glances that brushed past him, some curious, others skeptical. No one said it out loud, but Tom could sense their unspoken question. What's this older man doing here? As he entered the workshop, a group of young engineers stood waiting. They looked energetic, confident, and strikingly young. A man in his early 30s, tall with brown hair and a sharp face, stepped forward to shake Tom's hand. "Hello, I'm Jake, the lead engineer here," he said, his tone polite, but tinged with coolness. "Nice to meet you, Jake," Tom replied, striving to keep his voice steady. Jake quickly introduced the team and their work. Tom listened attentively, though it was hard to miss the lack of enthusiasm in Jake's words. He spoke just enough to be courteous, but didn't hide the skepticism in his gaze. A few other engineers shared similar expressions. They looked at Tom as if he were an outsider who didn't belong. When the introductions concluded, Jake led Tom on a tour of the workshop, explaining the processes and tools in use. Each area was equipped with advanced machinery, large touch screens, and state-of-the-art technology that Tom had never seen before. "We use this electronic control system to diagnose vehicle faults," Jake explained, pointing to a screen displaying complex graphs. "Everything is digitized and automated now. There's no need to manually dismantle every part like in the old days." Tom nodded, trying to grasp what Jake was saying, but deep down, he couldn't help but feel out of place. During his years as a mechanic, everything had relied on hands-on experience, the feel of metal and grease under his fingers. These graphs, algorithms, and dashboards felt like they belonged to another universe. That afternoon, the team began work on a classic car undergoing maintenance. Tom stood nearby, quietly observing. Jake and the young engineers worked deftly, navigating the screens and sophisticated devices with ease. They seemed to ignore Tom's presence, or perhaps they intentionally avoided acknowledging him. After analyzing data on the control panel, Jake turned to Tom, his tone polite but laced with doubt. "Mr. Wilson," he said, "if you find it hard to keep up, feel free to just observe. We'll make sure everything gets handled properly." Tom gave a faint smile, though the comment stung. He understood Jake's implication. Though unspoken, it was clear he was suggesting Tom was too old, too outdated to contribute anything meaningful. The first day ended in silence. Tom left the building with a heavy heart, questioning whether he truly deserved this opportunity or if he was wasting everyone's time. But deep down, he reminded himself why he had come here, not to prove anything to anyone but to start over, to rediscover a sense of purpose in his life. The next morning, the engineering team faced a difficult challenge. A vintage car had a severe issue with its ignition system, but the diagnostic tools couldn't pinpoint the fault. Jake, after hours of inspection, looked frustrated. "There's nothing in the database indicating the cause," he muttered. "All the metrics show the system is functioning normally." From a distance, Tom quietly approached. Without a word, he leaned over to examine the car's hood. The familiar smell of metal, oil, and engine heat stirred old memories in him. His calloused hands lightly traced the wires, and almost immediately he spotted the issue. "Have you checked the wiring from the starter to the battery?" Tom asked. Jake frowned, irritation creeping into his voice. The electronic system didn't flag anything there. That wouldn't make sense. Tom didn't argue. He simply bent down to inspect the wiring. One section had frayed. Not enough to completely sever the connection, but enough to disrupt the electrical current needed to start the engine. "Here," Tom said, pointing to the wire. "It's oxidized at this point. The diagnostic tools might not detect it, but this is the root of the problem." Jake remained silent, his expression shifting to one of surprise. Without further debate, he signaled another engineer to replace the wire. When the car started successfully, the team exhaled in relief. Jake turned back to Tom, for the first time looking genuinely impressed. "Thank you, Mr. Wilson," he said, his tone noticeably more humble. "You really saved us on this one." Tom gave a small smile and said nothing, but inside he felt a flicker of renewed hope. For the first time, he felt like he belonged, not because of the cutting-edge technology, but because of the value of his experience, his lifetime of hands-on knowledge. In the weeks that followed, Tom didn't just work, he slowly built connections with the engineering team. The skeptical glances transformed into looks of respect. Jake, once doubtful, became Tom's first ally at Tesla. Tom began each day with a newfound confidence, proving that a person's worth isn't defined by age or appearances, but by their ability to keep learning and contributing, no matter how far life had pushed them down. Tom Wilson was gradually becoming accustomed to his new life at Tesla. The early days of anxiety and hesitation had slowly given way to pride and a sense of meaningful contribution. Not only was he respected by the young engineers in his team, but he was also recognized by the company as an exemplary employee. The small apartment provided by Tesla had become the starting point for a new chapter in his life. Though modest, it offered a warmth that Tom hadn't felt in the 5 years he spent on the streets. Yet, the quiet evenings in that apartment often brought back memories of Martha. Her old photograph was carefully placed on the nightstand by his bed. In those silent moments, he would gaze at it, wondering if she would be proud of what he was doing. One day, after finishing work in the engineering workshop, Tom returned home as usual. But when he opened the door to his apartment, he noticed something different. On the small dining table in the center of the room lay a white envelope neatly placed. There was no sender address, only his name written in a clear, handwritten script on the front. Tom carefully sat down, his calloused hands cautiously opening the envelope. Inside was a letter and a check. As he saw the signature at the bottom of the letter, he froze. Elon Musk. For a few seconds, Tom sat motionless, his eyes fixed on the writing before him. Finally, he took a deep breath and began to read. "Dear Mr. Tom Wilson, thank you for everything you've done, not just for me, but for everyone at Tesla. You've reminded me of something important, that kindness is never lost, even when it comes from those facing the greatest challenges. I've heard your story about Martha, your love for her, and the sacrifices you made. It moved and inspired me deeply. I understand that her medical bills remain a heavy burden on your heart, and I want to do something small to help lift that burden. The enclosed check is enough to settle all remaining medical debts. This is not charity. It is a heartfelt thank you from me and from Tesla for the values you've brought to us. I hope this helps you continue your journey, knowing that your story has changed the lives of many. Sincerely, Elon Musk." Tom read the letter over and over, his hands trembling as he set it down on the table. He looked at the check. The amount was far beyond anything he had ever dared to imagine. It wasn't just enough to cover all of Martha's remaining medical expenses. It also gave him a profound sense of relief. Tears, which he hadn't allowed himself to shed in years, began streaming down his thin, weathered face. He sat there in his small apartment, the letter in his hands, and for the first time, he felt a lightness in his heart. "Martha," he whispered, his eyes turning to her photograph on the table. "I tried my best, but they did something I couldn't. Maybe you were right. Kindness really does come back to us." He sat in silence for a long time, absorbing the weight of the moment. The next day, Tom returned to Tesla with a renewed spirit. Everything felt familiar, yet it all carried a new meaning. He wasn't just working for the job anymore. He wanted to give back for the kindness that had been shown to him. In an internal meeting with other employees, Tom was invited to share his story. Standing in front of a packed room, he felt a bit nervous, but as he began speaking, his voice grew strong and earnest. "I lost everything. My wife, Martha, was the love of my life, and when she fell ill, I did everything I could to save her, even if it meant losing the stability of my own life. After she passed, I hit rock bottom. But the day I met Elon Musk, he didn't just give me a chance to rebuild my life. He reminded me that I still had value." The room was silent when Tom finished. Many of the young employees who had only known him as the older worker in their team now looked at him with newfound admiration. Not long after, Tesla announced a new program, an initiative to provide employment and training opportunities for veterans, seniors, and those who had faced significant hardships. The program was inspired by Tom Wilson's story, and Elon Musk personally requested Tom to take on the role of an advisor. Tom not only agreed but actively proposed ideas to make the program more effective. He worked closely with participants, sharing his experiences and his story to help them rediscover their own sense of worth, just as he had done. One weekend evening, as Tom was wrapping up work, a young engineer approached him. The engineer handed Tom a small package of cookies and smiled. "I heard you like to bring food to help the homeless. Here's a little contribution from me." Tom accepted the package, his eyes lighting up with gratitude. After work, he walked through the streets where he had once lived as a homeless man. This time, he wasn't huddled in a corner with a worn cardboard sign. Instead, he stood tall, offering others a glimmer of hope. Every package of cookies, every bottle of water he handed out came with a note. "Don't give up. I was once here too, and I know we can change if we're given a chance." Tom's small actions grew over days and weeks, and so his story became not just one of personal renewal, but a story of spreading kindness, from a small street corner to a company and beyond. Each night, before going to bed, Tom would look at Martha's photograph. This time, he no longer felt sorrow or regret. Instead, he felt peace, knowing he was living a life she would be proud of. Tom Wilson gradually became a symbol of Tesla, not only because of his valuable mechanical skills, but also because his life story touched the hearts of the entire company. He was beloved by his colleagues, not just for his deep experience, but also for his humility, kindness, and readiness to help anyone in need. Every morning, Tom woke up in his small apartment near Tesla. It wasn't a luxurious place, but to him it was paradise. It had been a long time since he felt this kind of stability, a solid roof over his head, meaningful work, and, above all, the sense that he still mattered. Yet, even though he had built a new life, Tom never forgot the years he spent on the streets of San Francisco. He couldn't erase the memory of the bone-chilling cold, the nights of hunger, and the feeling of being invisible to others. He also never forgot that it was the kindness of a stranger that had changed his life entirely. Tom began each workday with a small but special routine. He carried a few granola bars and small water bottles in his bag. On his way to Tesla, he stopped at familiar street corners, places where he used to huddle with his cardboard sign. Now he approached those who were homeless, offering them a snack and a few words of encouragement. "Here, take this," he would say with a gentle smile. "I used to be here. I know how it feels." The people receiving his small gifts often looked at him in surprise, sometimes unsure how to respond. But Tom didn't need their thanks. He knew that small gestures like these could sometimes spark a glimmer of hope in someone's heart. At Tesla, Tom's story not only spread among the employees but also reached Elon Musk himself. One day, Elon organized a large company meeting to launch a new program inspired by Tom's journey. "Tom Wilson has taught me an invaluable lesson," Elon said in front of hundreds of Tesla employees. "He reminds me that kindness is never wasted. It has the power to change someone's life and, in doing so, change the world." Elon announced the creation of a new program called the Wilson Initiative. This program was designed for veterans, senior citizens, and those who had faced hardship. It provided technical training, job opportunities, and support to help them rebuild their lives. Tom was invited to join the program as the lead mentor. He didn't just teach technical skills. He shared his story, helping participants regain faith in themselves. Through his dedication, he inspired each person he worked with day by day. One morning, while Tom was on his way to Tesla, he stopped at a street corner where he used to sit. There, he saw a young man with a handwritten sign who looked oddly familiar. Tom walked over and handed the man a granola bar and a bottle of water. "Thank you," the young man said, his voice hoarse. "But, are you Tom Wilson?" Tom froze, staring at the man in front of him. "Yes," he replied. "How do you know me?" The young man smiled shyly. "You wouldn't remember, but a few months ago you gave me a granola bar at another street corner. That made me realize that someone cared about me. Because of that, I found my way to a support center and started turning my life around." Tom stood silently for a moment, his heart swelling with joy. He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder, his gaze warm and kind. "You've done well. Keep going. And remember, if someone else needs help, don't hesitate. Kindness always needs to be passed on." The young man nodded, promising he would. On the anniversary of his first meeting with Elon Musk, Tom decided to return to the old street corner where he used to sit with his cardboard sign. But this time, he wasn't there to ask for help. He brought a small table, setting it up with granola bars, water bottles, and small cards bearing the message, "You deserve a second chance. Don't give up." All day, Tom stood at the corner, talking to homeless individuals, listening to their stories and sharing his own. Some of them cried, not because they received food or water, but because they felt understood and cared for, something they hadn't experienced in a long time. Tom wasn't just giving them food, he was giving them something he had once received: hope. As time went on, the Wilson Initiative became a flagship program at Tesla, helping hundreds of people who had faced difficult circumstances. Participants not only received support, but also drew inspiration from Tom's story. As for Tom, every year on that special day, he returned to the old street corner. He never forgot the days he had sat there, feeling invisible and hopeless. He knew that sometimes a single act of kindness or a few encouraging words could change an entire life. Back at his apartment that evening, Tom sat by the window, looking at a photograph of Martha. He no longer felt regret or sorrow. Instead, he felt gratitude. His life, once seemingly empty, had become a story of hope and redemption. Martha had always said that kindness would find its way back. Now, Tom didn't just believe it, he was living proof of it. Many years have passed since Tom Wilson first walked into Tesla with nothing but a business card in hand and a small flicker of hope in his heart. Today, he has become a symbol of resilience and kindness, not just within the company but in the community at large. His story stands as a testament to the power of compassion and perseverance, inspiring everyone from young engineers at Tesla to the homeless on the streets. Tom helped shape the Wilson Initiative, a program dedicated to supporting veterans, seniors, and those who have faced hardships. What started as a modest idea has now grown into an extensive network, bringing hope and opportunities to hundreds of people. Under Tom's passionate leadership, the program rapidly expanded its reach. Training centers were established across the United States, offering not only professional skills, but also psychological and financial support to participants. Tom was not just a mentor, but a source of inspiration, always present at opening ceremonies to share his story. "Never let your past define you," he once said during a gathering. "There was a time when I sat on a street corner, thinking my life was over. But everything can change if someone believes in you. More importantly, you must learn to believe in yourself." His words resonated deeply, igniting a spark of hope in people who had long lost faith in themselves after life's trials. Tom didn't just stick to the program. He also spent time visiting homeless individuals in different cities. He would meet, talk, and share small tokens of care, a pack of granola bars, a bottle of water, or simply a kind word. On one such visit to a support center in Chicago, he met a young man who looked weary but whose eyes lit up upon seeing him. "You're Tom Wilson, aren't you?" the man asked, his voice trembling. Tom nodded, slightly surprised. "Yes, I am. How can I help you?" The man smiled, tears welling in his eyes. "You won't remember me, but I remember you. A few years ago, when I was living on the streets in San Francisco, you gave me a granola bar and told me I could start over. Those words changed me. They made me believe I could rise again, and today I have. I have a job, a home, and it all started with your kindness." Tom placed a hand on the man's shoulder, his own eyes moist with emotion. "You made it happen yourself. I was just a reminder that you could. Now, keep paying it forward, just as you were helped." The man nodded, and in that moment, Tom realized that kindness doesn't stop with one person. It can spread, passed from one to another, like a flame that never dies. One day, Tom received an invitation from Tesla's leadership to attend a special ceremony. When he entered the grand hall, he was greeted by hundreds of employees, colleagues, and participants of the Wilson Initiative. On stage stood Elon Musk, smiling warmly. "Today," Elon began, his voice steady and heartfelt, "we honor a man who not only transformed his own life, but also the lives of thousands of others. Tom Wilson has reminded us that sometimes the most valuable things aren't technology or innovation, but kindness and empathy. He embodies the values Tesla strives for." Elon handed Tom a small statue, a pair of hands clasped together, symbolizing help and unity. Inscribed at the base were the words, "Kindness can change the world, starting with the smallest act." Tom accepted the statue, tears glistening in his eyes. As he stepped up to the podium, he took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "I never thought I'd stand here," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "There was a time when I sat on a street corner, feeling invisible and hopeless. But one day, someone's kindness changed everything. It made me realize that sometimes a small act is enough to change someone's life. Today, if I've been able to do the same for others, then it's all been worth it." The room erupted in applause, but in Tom's heart, he knew the recognition wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that the Wilson Initiative would continue, helping thousands more. As he entered his 80s, Tom received news from Tesla. They plan to expand the Wilson Initiative globally, establishing training centers in numerous countries. To honor his contributions, Tesla named a building at their headquarters Wilson Hall. Tom visited the building on its inauguration day. When he saw the large plaque bearing his name, he simply smiled. Titles and accolades didn't matter to him. All he cared about was that the program would live on, spreading kindness to more people. One late afternoon, Tom sat by the window of his apartment, gazing out at the deep blue sky. Beside him was a photo of Martha, always placed in the most cherished spot. "Martha," he whispered, "you were right. Kindness truly can change the world, and I've seen it, not just once, but countless times." The golden rays of the setting sun streamed through the window, enveloping him in a serene warmth. Tom closed his eyes, filled with gratitude. He knew that his life, once plunged into despair, had left behind a living legacy, a story of kindness, hope, and the boundless potential for change. The flame of kindness he had ignited now burned brightly, spreading far and wide, destined to keep glowing long after him. And so, this is the story of Tom Wilson, a man who taught us that kindness, no matter how small, has the power to transform lives and, in turn, change the world. His journey stands as a vivid reminder that anyone, in any circumstance, deserves a second chance. More importantly, our actions today can become a beacon of hope for those who are lost, helping them rediscover faith in themselves and life. Remember, kindness is never meaningless. Sometimes all it takes is an outstretched hand at the right moment to create miracles. Tom's story reminds us that every person matters, no matter where they are in life. If this story touched your heart, join us in spreading its message. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit like, and share to inspire more people. Because sometimes all it takes to change the world is to start with one small act of kindness. Thank you for being part of this journey.